Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special episode of the Side to Side Sportscast, where it's your boys, Will, Woody, and CJ. We come to break it all down from the ringside, the courtside, the sidelines, and for those sports they play outdoors, we outside, we side to side. That's how we ride. And today we have a special sideline coverage where we are covering the NFL Draft. We have fans from several fan bases who are going to break down what their team has been through in the offseason, what holes they need to fill, and what draft pick they think their team should take with their selection. And first up, we are starting with our guy, Charlie, representing those Jacksonville Jaguars. What up, Charlie?
What's going on, everybody? Happy to be here.
Hey, happy to have you here. Jacksonville is first up in the NFL Draft. And Charlie, you are officially on the clock.
Sounds good. First up in the draft for the second year in a row. So if you want to talk about the offseason first, we can talk a little about how we got here. First, we graded on a different curve in Duval County. Shawn is the worst owner in the league. Like, that's historically accurate. It's not even an opinion anymore. So he took a swing a little earlier than this time last year on Urban Meyer. And I think we all know, quick summary of that train wreck. Claimed he'd studied the NFL for about 6 months really in depth, and then it turned out he didn't even know who players like Aaron Donald or Deebo Samuel were, had to ask his assistants. Ended up making some really horrible hires, some, I think, questionable draft picks last time around. Didn't even survive the full season. So our offseason, our biggest acquisition actually, and what kicked us off was Doug Peterson. And I'm happy that we got to where we ended up with him. Super Bowl ring, former NFL quarterback, really great at developing quarterbacks himself, but it was a really wonky process. I was actually one of the fans that was really hoping Byron was going to get the nod. I think that Shawn was just a little too hesitant on a first-time coach. I guess that's the nice way to think of it, first-time head coach. Really, I think that Trent Baalke's got some kind of dirt on Shad Khan that nobody knows about. It's the only explanation I can see for him keeping his job, but he's here to stay, so we just started making other moves around there. And I think Doug Peterson, from what I've read, the culture shift in the building's already been huge. It's really about winning, having some respect for the people actually leading this team, and not only him coming in, but also with his guys that he's got. I think it's going to be awesome having someone from the Todd Bowles tree and Caldwell coming in on the defensive side. Tampa Bay's defense was light years ahead of Jacksonville and really a lot of the league last year. And honestly, Press Taylor, I think that should be a pretty fun time having him around. He was also a college quarterback. So job one from the beginning was get Trevor Lawrence what he needed to win. Urban Meyer did not know that was job one or didn't know how to get it done. So at least now we've got some guys with QB experience around the offense that can really lean into that. So that's really, I think, the most critical piece of this is having the right guy at the helm. But when we talk about what we've moved on as far as players, Cam Robinson got the second franchise tag in a row. I think that's because they're trying to negotiate a long-term deal. I hope that's it, because otherwise we're paying that guy $16 million. And it's kind of a questionable call in my book to keep him around given what he's done. But they've seen more than I have. They want to hold down that side of the line, and that sounds fine. We got rid of Carlos Hyde. Thankfully, he wasn't really producing much besides just being Urban Meyer, someone he was familiar with, and a reason to keep James Robinson out of games. So thankfully, he got released. We picked up Brandon Scherf, and this is the acquisition I'm most excited about on the player side. This guy misses some games most years, but he's almost always in the Pro Bowl, almost always an All-Pro. We're starting to defend Trevor Lawrence. We've got Walker Little, who's going to be able to compete on the right-hand side of that line with Jawan Taylor, maybe move some pieces around, but I think that is a huge pickup that's going to pay a lot of dividends for us. As far as the defensive side of the ball, and I tried to look this up because I want to make sure with Foye Oluokun, I'm still trying to get that one down. We lost Miles Jack. We released him, got that out of the way, which, he was underperforming. But we've got the leading tackler in the NFL coming in at the linebacker spot. Definitely need to get him some backup, but I'm really excited to see what he can do. He's just been a tackling machine. Last year's 192 tackles that he was in on, so that's awesome. And we've also picked up another guy on the defensive line, actually coming over from your Jets on that one with Futakasi, sorry. I don't know where. I've heard Trent Baalke talk about him being a pass rush guy, and they just haven't used him that way. I don't think about that, but I just know Derrick Henry would just eat our line to pieces right up the gut every time that we saw him last year. And any running back worth his salt would just hit the hole and burst right through. So it's good to have somebody in there that's just a run stopper. I think the biggest question marks that everyone's got for us are Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. And Christian Kirk obviously set off the most alarm bells around the league. Those guys have $118 million in total contract money between them, $51 million guaranteed. I agree with what a lot of people were saying. I don't know where that number came from, how they earned it, but both those guys line up in the slot. I think Kirk's going to be a huge weapon for Trevor. I don't know where Zay Jones fits in, but hopefully that works out. And then the last weapon that we really did a great job with, I think, was Evan Ingram. Underperforming on the Giants for sure, but I think that guy can be a huge safety release valve for Lawrence. And we have not had a tight end you can hang your hat on since Mercedes Lewis. I don't think Ingram's going to do that, but I think with Doug Peterson's history with Zach Ertz and the guys, Dallas Goedert up in Philly, I think he can really make some things happen there. So when we get to the draft now, I think the biggest things that we need are an edge rush, an outside wide receiver who can go up and win down really stretch the field, and also fill out the rest of that offensive line. The biggest ones I'm focusing on are edge rush, because Josh Allen, when he came into the league, I think he should have been defensive rookie of the year, 10.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and he had other people like Yannick Ngakoue on that line to help distract from him. We got Clavon Chase on, and he's been a bust in my opinion, so we need to get some help on that side. With wide receiver, I looked this up. We don't have anybody above 6'2", and we really just have a bunch of slot receivers. So we got to find somebody with speed and height that can really stretch defenses. And then on the offensive line, we don't have a clear left guard. So Scherf's the right guard. We can maybe slide Jawan Taylor over, figure something out, but we definitely have some needs there. So to address all that, I'm going Aiden Hutchinson, number one. There's been a whole lot of talk recently with Trayvon Walker out there, and I think that dude is an absolute beast, especially his ceiling is so much higher. But we've gone high ceiling before with Chase on, and it just never developed. The way that Hutchinson moves, he was rookie of the year for the Wolverines. Before he got hurt, he was putting another good season together. Runner-up Heisman this last year. The bend may not be there at the top athletically, but I think that just culturally too, that guy can come in and make the whole locker room work harder, want to be around him, play every snap like he's last, and this really changed the dynamic and let our other side of that line, Josh Allen, both of them work together to make other quarterbacks just have a real bad day.
Aiden Hutchinson immediately turned. He's one of those guys that can, immediately help turn defense around. I think it's a no-brainer, like you said. You go with the true shot if you're the Jags at this point. You've already tried to shoot high a few times and missed. So, go with the as close to a sure thing, right, as you possibly can. Totally agree. Right. Totally agree.
I mean, Aiden and Josh Allen.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't want to be a quarterback if that's what's coming. That sounds horrible.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it here first from our boy Charlie, representing those Jags in Duval. Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher, 6'6", 260 from the University of Michigan, coming to hold down the defensive line and put some heat on those quarterbacks from the AFC South. Charlie, excellent breakdown. We thank you, buddy.
Thank y'all. Have a good one.
Thanks, Charlie.
Absolutely. Whew. Wow, that is a tremendous way to start off our first ever side-to-side draft, whatever we're doing right now, this draft special, okay? We're doing it. This is the first time. That was our first pick, but okay, everybody loves a sequel. Here's a number 2 pick, all right? This is a franchise. I know a little bit about a franchise that's starving for some success. Well, let me bring on Shawn from the Detroit Lions to talk about his franchise and see what he's doing with his not 1, but 2 picks in the first round of this year's NFL draft. Shawn, where you at?
Almost had him.
You're right. Yo, it's a long way. It's a long way to it's a long way from Detroit. But we here.
Yo, Shawn, I think we both keep pressing it. You got it.
There we go. All right, Shawn. So I'm sorry. I don't know. All right. Got lost in traffic.
That's about how long we're usually in the playoff hunt.
Got him.
Well, Shawn, welcome, Shawn. Thank you for putting up with the traffic jam. And guess what? You are on the clock.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate this. A chance to talk about how in Detroit we are going to restore the roar, because that's what it's all about. Draft day every year is figuring out what parts we need to be able to move this thing forward in the right direction. When it comes to our off season, we probably had about as opposite of an off season as Jacksonville had as you could have. You saw the Detroit Lions stand pat almost across the board. The number of moves they made were minimal. The biggest splash that we had, which is a move I like, when they went out and got DJ Shark. You know, he's a playmaker that can go alongside a young up-and-coming receiver, Amon St. Brown. We got DJ Hawkinson now stepping into a Pro Bowl level tight end that they got a couple of years ago. And then Josh Reynolds. So a young core. They're all going to be on good rookie contracts for a while. So that's going to be something that's real nice for us as we start to build around this team. You know, when you see a team that goes 3-13-1, like the Lions did last year, you think they're going to shake things up. But they have kept this core together. And you start digging into the stats on why, and it starts to make sense. The Lions went 2-8-1 in games decided by one score or less last year. Okay. Then you add another, if you go all the way to 10 points, add another 3 losses to that. So 2-11-1 in games decided by 10 or less. Now, you could say, gosh, that's coaching. That's, you know, they don't have it. But these guys fought, because if you look at the talent level of where they were at, I watched every one of those games, and they were entertaining as hell. They fought. I mean, they lost to Baltimore on a record-setting field goal that bounced off the upright against, you know, Baltimore. I mean, they had all that stuff happen. And growing up in Detroit, you start to get used to those things. Like, how are they going to figure out a way to lose this week? Well, we got to experience all of it last year. And so just by the law of averages say that some of those losses last year by one score are going to start moving in our favor. So they took that, let's hold the line approach. Let's use this team. Everybody's buying into Dan Campbell. Okay. This guy he's got a fire in him that just resonates with everybody on his team. And they all want to be a part of it. And they all fought, you know, to make sure they're staying on board. I like what the direction that they're moving with this core. You know, you brought in a few other free agents, you know, the Jared Davis they brought back. They signed on Deshaun Elliott, you know, some smaller, pieces just to try to help. But this core is staying. They are going to work again this year to see how this thing pans out. And I think that's the right move. When it comes to the holes, we got to pressure the quarterback. We ranked 30th overall last year in sacks. That's just not going to cut it when you got Aaron Rodgers in your division, when you got, you know, the Vikings and all those receivers that they're doing in their division. We're also 31st in yards allowed per play. So these quarterbacks are just able to sit back and wait, because you can't cover them forever. They just wait for them to get open because they're not getting any pressure, and then they're hitting the deep ball. Now, that ties right into what I think we should do here. And this one, there's a lot of moving parts, because I'm going to be more on the Aiden Hutchinson bandwagon than even Charlie was. Okay. He's a Michigan boy. I've literally watched every game he's ever played. He's a hometown hero. We want Aiden. All right. And if I'm GM, I'm trading up to get him. I'm going from 2 to 1. If you go back and look at Jimmy Johnson's point ratings and how he came up with that chart that the majority of the NFL uses, it's only 400 points different from 2 to 1. We got 3 picks in the top 34. We could give them our number 34, and then which is actually worth 580. So from a value standpoint, giving them our number 2 and our number 34 is actually a better value. So if the Jags think those other edge rushers are comparable, like Thibodeau, who I think if Hutchinson's not there, I think that pick makes a lot of sense. There's no reason the Jags shouldn't do that. Hutchinson is more valuable to the Lions than anybody else because of that local piece. I'm all for making that move. Okay. Now, if that move doesn't happen, I don't like personally taking the second best of any position if I'm sitting at number 2. If I got the number 2 overall pick, I want the best guy at whatever position he's playing. Okay. I actually say if I can't improve my pass rush and strengthen my weakest, I want to strengthen my best. And I think right now our best is our secondary. We've got a couple young guys out there. Okudah was hurt. I'm hoping he can rebound and be the number 3 overall pick that he was drafted at and be that guy. But on the other side, we had a guy come really almost out of nowhere, Amani Arulani, who just had an amazing year at cornerback. So for me, I take those 2 young corners, and I'm going to see if I can't possibly make a move somewhere in the top 8, and I'm going after the Notre Dame safety, Kyle Hamilton. Bring that guy in there. He is a jack of all trades. He can play anywhere. He can blitz. He can play against the run. He can cover. He's 6'4" as a 220 as a safety. He'll hit you. So he can make where if we can't rush the passer, don't let anybody be open and make them pay if they think they're going to catch. Give them all alligator arms out there. Let's just start popping some guys. But I think that's the route that we've got to go. If we can't make that move and get Aiden, we go after, we try to trade down, get Kyle. And if no one's going to trade us there, then option 3 for me is Thibodeau. I think he's a solid player. He's really good. I don't want to undersell what Thibodeau can do, but I'm just so biased, with Aiden that's the guy that I want if we can't get there. Then if we're tying we're going a little over, so I'll keep this real quick with my last pick there. I don't want a quarterback. I want to be very clear about that. I want to see what Goff can do. Give him one more year. Let this thing play out. He's gone to a Super Bowl, guys. All right. He kept this team around. He kept them in games. I don't think he's the answer, but I sure don't think there's an answer sitting there at 32 either. So I'll give him another year, ride this thing out. If I can't get that safety, if I can't go and get Aiden, I'm going to go after the other Michigan guy, Daxton Hill. Let me get that safety. I bring him in at 32. I've seen all his games too. So I know what I'm getting there. He can play. He likes that Viper role, very similar to what Jabril Peppers did for Michigan for all those years. He can play all over the place and get things done. That's what I got.
That was unbelievable.
Well done. Well done.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Shawn Castleberry, Aiden Hutchinson, heart of the hometown. Trade up to get him. You heard the points. All it takes is one of those extra picks. Move up with Jacksonville. We don't know how Charlie feels about it, but I think he'd be down if Charlie was the GM.
Should we bring Charlie on? Should we ask Charlie? Should we propose a trade?
You know what? Let's bring
step
Charlie in to ask him, would he be willing to do this trade? Charlie, what's up, man?
100% willing. I think that actually Balky's been mentioning, I think he's not committed to it. I've heard him a couple of times hint at talking, like shopping it around. There hasn't been the interest. So maybe Shawn's of the world need to get in touch with their GM and just make sure that he's really pressing that button. But if we go down 1, then I'm taking Big Icky, putting him in that left guard spot and making sure that Trevor Lawrence can just have like a pizza back there, wait for guys to get open and enjoy his day. Like, to me, that would be a wonderful way to keep stacking the deck. And we could definitely go out and get like a George Pickens beginning of that second round and still be able to reinforce maybe the linebacker core, something else with that extra pick we're getting. But yeah, I would be Aiden, absolutely worth the number 1. But if we can get that deal done, that's all aboard in Duval. Heck yeah.
Fair enough. You heard these GMs. It's right here first.
You heard it here first. Well, listen, we want to thank you. Excellent analysis from Charlie coming back on. And Shawn, way to break it on down from Detroit, Motor City, representing those Lions with everything you said. And you have the quote of the night. if we can't strengthen our weakness, let's strengthen our strength with the second pick. That is the mastermind GM philosophy right there. We love it. Gentlemen, thank you. And with the third pick of the side-to-side draft special, we've got that dude Clint coming on to represent those Houston Texans. What's up, Clint?
What's up, guys? What's up, H-Town? Is that dude Clint, like they said? What's up? So let's get this going. Let's get this started.
Let's go,
right,
man.
So
you are officially on the clock.
How do I start this? All right. So first off, I would like to grade the team's offseason so far. And I would like to say that the Texans by far have the best offseason that they've had years. I would say B-. They got draft picks. They got rid of Deshaun Watson. Thank God on that one. And I mean, the Texans got rid of players that they didn't need, and they got rid of all the dead cap space that shouldn't have been there. So happy about that. Let's see. The big holes that I know that the Texans need to fill within this year's draft is that offensive line, guard, inside guard, both sides, that needs to be filled. Pass rusher needs to replace someone like J.J. Watt. And then definitely need secondary, cornerbacks and safeties for sure. Cornerbacks, replacing Justin Reed because he's gone. So you need to replace someone like that. With the number 3 and number 13 picks, I have to say that best player available would be my answer for both picks, because honestly, that's how you need to go in a draft, is the best player available. You can't just go based on names or, where this person is coming from. You got to go based on what your team's position needs. So best player available. And if you're fortunate enough with that number 13 pick or even number 3, they could trade down or trade up. But right now, I would say keep both picks and draft the best players available. And let's see.
So who do you think, is there anybody who you think would fall, right? Because right you're number 3, right? So
yes.
You probably have an idea of who the best available is, of the entire draft.
Yeah.
But is there somebody who you think is the third best? That you think would fall?
Man, I can't. I'm not good with pronouncing his last name, but Kevion.
Thibodeau, the DN.
DN, yeah, or the pass rusher Hutchinson. If he's still there at number 3, I would take Hutchinson or Kevion. But if they're not available, if they're taking beforehand, I would definitely take the best player available. And the next guy would be O'Neal, the offensive guard from I can't remember where he's from.
Oh, Evan Neal?
Yeah.
Evan, okay, yeah.
Evan Neal, yeah.
Yeah, he's out of Alabama. That's a strong pick too. I would think that's probably who they're gonna. That's who I think they would end up taking. They really need to boost that offensive line, like you said, and best. He might be the best available at that point.
Right.
Never mind the fact that he's a position of need. So I could see him definitely taking Neal.
Well, with Lovie Smith taking over as head coach, pass rush has always been his thing.
Oh yeah,
I can definitely see Adon Hutchinson, like you said. Kayvon Thibodeau is certainly a possibility. Those are 2 names to definitely keep an eye on, just like you said. Right. And another player to keep an eye on is from Georgia, the 3 technique, because Lovie Smith loves those interior pass rushers, and Trayvon Walker is another name. I actually agree with you. I think defense is the way that the Texans may go. Because at that 13th pick, just like you said earlier, you could get some value for that offensive line. So what are you thinking the Texans do with pick 13?
I would say trade up. Go up the ladder with 13. So if you could trade 13 for next year's pick or another, in a few years picks or whatever, and you could get up to the next defensive guy that you see, go for that. That's what I would do. And, I've heard fans personally say that the Texans should draft a quarterback. Wrong. Cancel that, because Davis Mills may not be the answer, but he is the guy that the Texans are relying on for this coming up season. They are giving him this opportunity to shine or bust. And you can't draft another quarterback year after year, or back-to-back years. So stay away from quarterback, stay away from, anything in that position. Maybe draft another wide receiver to help Davis Mills in that area, because you'll have Cooks, you have Nico Collins, and I'm just going on a blank here. The guy from Colts that signed with the Texans is running back, Mack. So you got a little bit of help in the backfield. So don't worry about drafting a running back. Don't worry about drafting the tight ends. You already have a list full of tight ends. So get out of that. Go offensive line, or go defense first, pass rusher or secondary. That's how I would go. And if you're Lovie Smith, if you know the history of Lovie Smith and what his resume is all about, it's all about defense. So he wants that defense. He wants that 4-3 to just poop, like just spark. So pass rusher, second, or corner or safety, that's what I would do.
Wow. So if the Texans listen to Clint with Lovie Smith, and I'm, Trevor Lawrence, Ryan Tannehill, I'm getting nervous. I'm starting to shake in my boots.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt Ryan, because it looks like this defense is about to be getting built from the ground up. So
hey,
I don't know. That's
I got one question for you. So I've seen some mock drafts say they might grab 2 offensive linemen with those 2 picks if they keep them. Is that something that would be infuriating to you, or would you go for that?
Oh man, 2 offensive line with those 2 picks. I mean, I wouldn't mind it just because offensive line, it wasn't bad last year as years passed, but I mean, you'll have Tunsil as left tackle, Howard at right tackle. So you're solid with those 2 guys. Those 2 guys could move as the best of the best on the offensive line. Now, if you get a right guard, left guard, that's fine. Like Evan Neal, that I'll be fine with just 1. I mean, 1 would be enough, but 2, I don't know how I would feel. Like I'm kind of like I'm against that. I would say get, if you can, the best player available, whoever that is. If it's pass rusher, go for that pass rusher first thing. Jump on it, because you don't want to miss that chance. So that's what I would do.
Okay. It sounds like a plan. There's a lot of options the Texans have. At the 3rd pick, they're definitely going to get one of the best players in the draft. They're probably going to get one of the top 3 players in the draft, as long as they make the right choice.
Right.
There's a couple pass rushers on the board. When you get down to 13, if you want to get Davis Mills a weapon, you're going to have probably one of the top picks of wide receivers going in the draft, as well. So the Texans are in a great position. And Clint, you that dude, man. We thank you for coming through.
Thanks, guys. Go Texans. Woo-hoo!
Thank you. Appreciate you, dude.
I appreciate it, guys.
See you later, Clint.
And
right.
with the
No, don't you dare. Don't you dare. All right. Take away the shine. Try to take away the shine from the Jets. All right. Because these are Woody's boys. And there's only one man worthy of representing the Jets. And it's me. But because I can't do it, we have Matt/Fitz. Get him on the screen. Okay, get him on. We're going to talk about the Jets. Okay, we've already seen some names on the board, but I want to hear what Fitz, how you doing, baby?
I'm doing good. And let me tell you what, there are some good things to point to in this offseason. I'll tell you, we had a lot of problems. I mean, this is a team that absolutely stunk last year. It absolutely stunk the year before, and it was even worse the years prior. So if we're going to go and look at this team, there's a lot of holes in this team. And when we go and address safety, we address cornerback. We're bringing up Jordan Whitehead, who was a phenomenal pickup at a great price at safety. He was an awesome pickup. Our safeties stunk last year. Our safeties have not been great for some time. So bringing him and then DJ Reed, my man DJ Reed, he knows the system well. He's familiar with Robert Saleh. In Saleh, I trust. You know, we went and took two very bad positions last year, and we made them not necessarily positions to go and get too excited over, but two positions to be very excited about the future with. DJ Reed is going to be a tremendous benefit for Bryce Hall, Michael Carter II. He is going to be a very good influence on these young cornerbacks the New York Football Jets have, which I'm very excited to go and see. Jordan Whitehead, I don't know if he's good enough to improve some of the horrible safeties that we have. However, him, when he's playing and he is healthy, he is going to be tremendous benefit in the field. So as it comes to the offseason, those are the two biggest highlights that I have outside of two tight ends that came in. I give them solid Bs, B to B minus to B plus, somewhere in the middle there. We had no tight end since Dustin Keller. Dustin Keller was a very fun guy to watch from the New York Jets. It was very short-lived, sadly, but now bringing in Tyler Conklin, as well as Woody, help me out.
Uzoma.
So we brought in Uzoma first. I was not super thrilled about this hire. You know, he was okay. He's had a fine career. And then bringing in Conklin, this brings in two quality pass receiving tight ends, not the highest of quality, but considering we've had nothing for years, you know, we got very excited about a man named Chris that was supposed to be very good at tight end for us. And sadly, he had a good game against the Green Bay Packers, and he is just fallen into nothing since. And, you know, bringing in two tight ends, I'm very excited about having these two guys on here. It gives us starters as well as depth in a position that we had nothing prior. Now let's go and talk about the holes in the roster. This defense has been so bad for so long. I am so sick of it. So if we're able to, because guess what? You know what? We got this man named Carl Lawson from Cincinnati, and he is coming back this season. And I don't care what injury he had, he's going to come back and he's going to put on a freaking clinic on the New York Jets. This guy is so good. And when he is healthy, this guy is a absolute destroyer of offensive lines. So if we go and have him back, and if just segueing right into the draft, if we can pull off getting KT at 4, Mamma mia. If we have KT on one side and Carl Lawson on the other, guess what, Patriots twice a year? Guess what, Buffalo twice a year? Guess what, you dinguses over in Miami twice a year? You ain't stand a chance. Because if we have DJ Reed in the backfield and we have these young, talented cornerbacks over there, and they actually have some help by putting pressure on the quarterback, and these quarterbacks are going to have to run for their freaking lives when you have these beasts running after them. You know what? The thing that I'm most excited about having Carl Lawson and the idea of KT on the other side is this going to make our secondary so much better. Our secondary has not necessarily been so bad from a talent perspective, but it's been so alone. We've had no help in the secondary when it comes to safety or when it comes to the rush, which are two vast benefits when you have a young cornerback core. So being able to go and have pressure and then some help back in the deep with Jordan Whitehead, this is a very exciting prospect of a position to go and have if we can add KT. And that's position number 4. We draft KT at 4. We're in very good position. No, we got 10. What do we do at 10? Some people are saying wide receiver, Drake London, some of these other guys, Jameson Williams. Now, look, would I love to go and draft a quarterback at 10? Sure. Or a wide receiver at 10? Sure. However, there's a little bit of a problem is if we go and bring on some guy that's not an absolute stud out the draft, and we go and have Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios, you know, where does this wide receiver fit in? If we bring in a rookie wide receiver, how do they fit in? Are they the number 2? Is Elijah Moore kind of drop back a little bit? Where do they fit in? So what I am very excited about is to see what Joe Douglas, who I trust very much with a strong coach, because you know what, Joe Douglas, I think we could all admit it, he was not that great with the man who should not be named prior to him, Adam Gase. I'll say it. I'm strong enough now to say it. I have built up the scar tissue. I could say his name again. If we go and have Joe Douglas and Salah working together on this team, I believe in it a lot more. And if it's 10, if we trade that for Diebold, if we trade 10 for AJ Brown, whoever it is, I would love to see it, and not to go and throw some additional shade on Rachael, who's a very good friend of mine. If we were able to pull off Mr. Metcalf, that would be amazing. Just to go and throw it in your face even more for giving you Jamal Adams and taking all your draft capital and then take your best wide receiver too. I would love to see it. No disrespect to you, Rachael. But whoever it is, if we're looking at wide receiver at 10, I would want to trade that pick for an established wide receiver. That is something that's very important, because at the end of the day, we know where Deebo stands. We know where DJ stands. We know where AJ Brown stands. We don't quite know where some of these wide receivers stand when it comes to where do they find their place, in our receiving corps. So I would love to trade 10 for a wide receiver. We'll see what happens. If we decide not to go and do that, and we decide to go in with the draft, I like Drake London. He's big. He does have a little bit of a high drop percentage, but he's very good with contested catches. He's a tall guy. Zach Wilson's a young quarterback. His accuracy still needs a little bit of improvement, and having a tall guy with a long range, I love that idea. But if that doesn't happen, sadly, this is something Woody and I have talked about numerous times, where what do you do when you have a Mekhi Becton at left tackle, who I did love at one point, and I still want to love him, but my love is fading, sadly. This man, he doesn't show up to voluntary practices. He hasn't played a snap in how long? He hasn't played a full game in 2 seasons, and he doesn't show up to voluntary practices. I know some people have said, oh, it's much ado about nothing. I have a problem with that. This man needs to gel with his offensive line. He needs to be there in good faith, having not been there in how long. Most of the team has been there. And if we were considering drafting a tackle or an offensive lineman after having him and spending very good draft capital on him, that goes and shows, where is our salary cap going? Is all of our salary cap going to depth pieces? If we need to invest all of our salary cap into depth just because we know our number one is going to be injured, that's a problem to me. And if Mekhi Becton cannot prove that he is going to play the majority of the season and be that building block that we were supposed to have him be for 2 years now, and he's played a total of 7 games maybe? That's concerning, and I do have concern there. I am praying for him to be good. I am praying for that to be the case. But if we are considering Ike Ekwonu or Evan Neal at that 10 pick, and even possibly 4, that's a little bit showing to some of the weaknesses that we do have on that offensive line, when ultimately on paper it should be very strong. So we'll see what happens there. But the other positions for 35 and 38, no, I'm running over here. 35 and 38, I would love to bring in Perion Winfrey, the defensive tackle. Quentin Williams, he is a very good football player. He's been doing it alone his entire career so far. It's not fair to go and really judge him on his numbers and his performance when he's been running solo for how long. If we bring another defensive tackle in, that's going to do very good things for him. It's going to do very good things for our pass rush, which is ultimately going to do things for our defensive secondaries as well. So if we could bring in him and possibly that safety from Pennsylvania or a linebacker, I'd be very happy.
Well, I think you're the first person to use up your entire clock on your, on your.
I could still keep going, Woody.
No, you don't got to tell me. You don't got to tell me. Will, you can take it from here from the summary. I guess CJ and I got nothing to say. I'll say JETS, Jets.
And you definitely broke it down. If the Jets can add Kayvon Thibodeau opposite Carl Lawson, you're talking pass rush in a division where you need pass rush. I really agree with you that the Jets are in a prime position. If they can trade the 10th pick and bring in a proven wide receiver, a proven number one, a proven weapon, then that is ideal. But if not, you can always go address that offensive line, amongst other things, if that was necessary, or taking a Drake London. But hey, Fitz, clearly representing Gang Green, you did your thing. Woody, are you on board with his insights to your JETS Jets?
I'd love to hear this one.
Kayvon Thibodeau, that is if he is there at number 4, that is a no-brainer. Now we just heard who it was, Shawn talking about, or even Clint, right? The last 2 picks above us were all talking about Thibodeau, so we don't know if he's going to fall. All right, but if he falls, we are going to break that fall right then and there by taking him at number 4. There is no issue with that with me at all. Number 10, I don't know. We might have to leave that for a different time. I mean,
You got to see.
I feel like lower picks have gone to better receivers. When we talk about Tyreek Hill, we talk about Devontae Adams. I'm not sure if number 10 is what we should be giving for Diebold. When we, maybe 30, 35, 38 or 35 and, a 4th rounder, something like that. I'm not sure if something as high as coveted as a 10th overall pick in this NFL draft is what we need to get or need to give for an A.J. Brown. Hopefully we can do with something less. But because we need more than just one hole. That's what I'm thinking.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Fitz and from Woody, representing Gang Green, them Jets, Jets. And next pick, we've got our boy Nick Cretella, representing the Giants panel on the clock to tell us about the Giants draft. Nick, what's up, baby?
What's going on, everybody? How are you today?
We're doing good. You are officially on the clock.
Perfect. Well, I mean, with our 5th pick in the draft, gonna have to go with Evan Neal, the tackle from Alabama. I mean, the guy is an absolute animal, and you see our O-line, it's horrible. So he would be my 5th pick in the draft because I can't watch this O-line anymore. Nate Solder, I never want to see that guy again.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, hey, you guys have been drafting linemen, right? Drafting linemen. I feel like almost every year you guys are either signing Nate Solder or making a pick. So hopefully this works out. Andrew Thomas, he's solid. He's solid, but Evan Neal, generational talent. I'm rooting for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, he might be gone. That was kind of my only thought. I'm thinking, good pick, but hopefully he falls to 5. The Texans.
Yeah, I mean,
the Texans not grabbing him. Even as early as 3.
Yeah, I mean, if not, I guess like Charles Cross from I think Mississippi State. I think he would be all right too. But my main focus, like Evan Neal, I want him on the right side, and I want him there for as long as possible.
So right. Either way, tackle at 5.
Tackle. Nothing less. Right. I'm not settling for anything less.
All right, hit us with the holes, hit us with everything. What do you got? What else you got?
All right. Well, I mean, for the holes, I guess the better question is like, what aren't the holes on the New York Giants? Because there's holes all over the place. No, it's bad right now. But honestly, like building the O-line, that's important. Definitely getting an edge rushers on the outside. I would say we have to get some people in the secondary because I'm reading that James Bradbury might be out of here soon. And if that's the case, then that could follow up with our 7th pick, who I want personally, and I want Sauce Gardner.
Sauce.
Yeah, no, I love that guy. I mean, I think he would fit perfect in Wink's defense. And at this point, it's kind of just like take the best available because of so many holes that we have. So I would say go with Sauce at 7.
That's I mean, a lot of projections have that potentially, falling into the Giants' lap there at 7.
Yeah, no, I like the idea, and I want to have someone on the team that we can with the name Sauce Gardner. I mean, I know that's not his real name, but that's just cool to have at that point.
I won't lie. I feel like with a name like Sauce Gardner, his stats, he's so swaggy. I feel like he definitely needs to end up in New York. And you can have him. All right, because we got holes. that we're trying to fix. But Sauce Gardner is definitely swaggy. I completely agree with taking the best option available. I actually think the man over here His franchise, I feel like they did that kind of 2 years in a row, when they didn't really have a need for a receiver, but CD Lamb has come through, and now this season he's about to be their wide receiver one, and then Micah Parsons, what he's done with that defense as well. I feel like that's a fail-safe philosophy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean the Cowboys, they've been doing it right with the whole drafting process, so kind of want to copy them.
I got a follow-up question for you because you got two offensive linemen mentioned, right? And that's Cross and Neal. You said you prefer Neal. Some people actually prefer Cross. Why would you take Neal over Cross?
Honestly, just because he had a very successful season in 2020 when he was playing right tackle, because that's what we need on the right side. Andrew Thomas, I mean, he's our left tackle and he's staying there. So I don't know. I think, and I honestly just like the fact that he's a Bama product. I love my Bama products just because they just build talent over there. So yeah, that's my reasoning on Evan Neal.
I'm not going to argue that.
Listen, you can't go wrong with either pick. That would definitely solidify the outside of the Giants line, which has been a disaster for a number of years now. And you got brand new head coach. I'm sure that's what he would want to have. Two great picks, and then getting a stud corner, Ahmad Sauce Gardner. I'm actually kind of jealous that the Giants have the 5th and 7th pick. I think if they go your direction, those are two cornerstone pieces that are going to help you guys build into a contender in the division again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, also, this is a little wild card here. I wouldn't hate trading a pick around and getting some more picks out of it, just because getting picks in like the 2nd and 3rd round are huge too. So if a team who has the 5th pick, it's the Panthers, right? Saints.
Yeah. It's the Panthers, right? I mean, we'll see. I mean, the ticker is literally coming down.
The Giants have the 5th pick. The Panthers are in between you guys at 6.
Yeah. So I know like they probably need some quarterback help, so they might want to be the first one to take the quarterback they want. So if they want to trade, they can go right ahead and we can see what we can get out of it.
Yeah. I mean, the Commanders, if they're not happy with Carson, right, maybe they're moving up. The Vikings, right, but I'm literally just reading the ticker right now. But the Vikings, like they could be, trading into those top spots because between everybody's hyping up Malik Willis, like somebody gonna jump the gun there and be the first to start that quarterback frenzy.
Let's not forget, Giants got 2 picks in round 3 too already. So from the Dolphins, they got one. So they're sitting pretty in this draft right now. Having 5 picks in the top 3 rounds. They get some serious improvement.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Joe Shane makes the right picks, not like the guy before the GM before him, we might be all right.
That is fair. That is very fair to say.
Well, the trade-up scenario is definitely intriguing. I'm sure, because you have picked so close to each other, Joe Shane will probably have numerous phone calls of somebody trying to move ahead of the Carolina Panthers, possibly wanting one of the QBs. So I really think that this is a very great position for the Giants. And if they go your tackle, Evan Neal, on the right side, and they go with Sauce Gardner at corner, man, it is going to be on and popping. So, Nick, we want to thank you for your pick.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And Giants panel, if you guys aren't listening, then you're not real Giants fans. That's all I got to say about that. All right?
Yeah, everyone throw us a follow on Twitter when you get a chance at NY_Giants_talk. We couldn't get the Giants panel. Someone took that Twitter at, so that's what we got.
All good. All good. All right. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Now, with the 6th pick, okay, this is a franchise that I'm excited about, okay? They have my quarterback back there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they're going to have him, week 1. I don't know if they're having week 1, but, Sam Darnold, wherever you're at, man, you still, you have my respect. You have my respect. So, representing the Carolina Panthers, okay, we have Daniel. Come on down to the Side to Side Sportscast.
Hey guys, how are y'all doing? Really happy to be here. Not so happy that my Panthers are picking 6th. First off, I actually really love hearing the love for Aiden Hutchinson. My dad's a Michigan alum, so I watched a lot of him this year. And I'll say that Michigan beating Ohio State this year is a top 10 sporting moment of my life. That tells you how miserable I've been sports-wise. I'm actually going to continue the trend of switching things up from the people that went before me, because the Panthers, unlike the Lions, I think actually had a lot of talent last year. I'm not gonna lie, I predicted them to go to the playoffs, especially after a 3-0 start. But later on in the year, you could really tell that they quit. They were not willing to play for Matt Rule. That's probably because I don't think he's a suitable NFL coach. Also, why I was almost willing to throw my Michigan Wolverines under the bus to have him go to Michigan had Jim Harbaugh taken the Minnesota job. I think it was what he was looking at. I actually have 2 grades for the Panthers offseason. One is a football grade. One is a business grade. I'm going to do the business grade first. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. I'm going to give the business grade an F for 2 words, Rachael. That's one of the more embarrassing things I've ever seen. Just building what looks to be the majority of that structure and then just abandoning it. That's so embarrassing to me. I don't know who to blame, and I don't really know who. I don't really care who, but that was the worst part of the offseason. On the football side, I'm going to give them a B. They did a couple things that I really, really liked, such as bolstering that offensive line, signing Corbett from, I think, the Rams and Bozeman from the Ravens. Both franchises I really, really respect, that I think are both run really, really well. So the signing of them, 1, shores up our offensive line, at least the interior, and 2, again, brings guys that come from a winning culture to the team. I also love the signing of DJ Moore, the re-signing of DJ Moore. He is, in my opinion, a top 5 wide receiver in the league. He just has not had the quarterback play to make him that. But if you look at his statistics, he's one of the most consistent performers, yardage-wise at least, not touchdowns, again, because he's had not great quarterback play over his career. But I really, really love that. We didn't pay too much, I think, for him. In terms of needs for this team, I'm going to keep saying offensive line. That offensive line last year was really, really bad. Cam Irving is not an NFL caliber offensive lineman. I had to watch him a lot last year. The only bright spot of the offensive line was Moten. And again, I'm very, very glad we re-signed him too last offseason. And then, of course, the other one, I hate to crap on your quarterback, but Darnold is not the guy. As much as I really, really wanted him to be, he is not the guy. So I'll say that the 2 biggest needs are offensive line still, and then quarterback being the obvious one. I would very much like to bring Cam back, but I don't know how well the team will treat him, or at least the coaching staff will treat him. They definitely threw him under the bus last year, but at the very least, I would very much like to see him as a bridge quarterback for whoever we do end up bringing in as the future. So that brings me to who I think the Panthers should draft. And I think it comes down to one question, because none of the offensive linemen, or at least none of the guards and centers, interior offensive linemen this year draft, I think are worth the top 6 pick. Someone may disagree with me there, but I think if we're going offensive lineman top 6, it needs to be a tackle. And I think the question is, do we trust Brady Christensen? We drafted him with our 3rd round pick last year. He didn't play much. Rule has talked about him playing at guard or at center because his arms are short, which don't get me started on that. But my answer to that is yes, I do trust Brady Christensen. So because of that, I want Malik Willis. I think he is far and away the best quarterback in the draft, has the highest ceiling. He does have ties to Cam. He played at Auburn for a little bit before transferring. But I think just watching him, I think you ask yourself a question, does this guy have the capability of being a top 5 quarterback in the league? And I think he does. So that's who I want.
Wow. That is some high praise. Malik Willis. We figured, or I figured he's getting drafted in the top 10. Number 6. I mean,
I also say that because I think the Falcons are drafting right after us. I think they're 7.
I believe they're 8. I believe they're 8.
Okay.
The Giants,
Okay. They're
the Giants
soon
are
after
7.
us. And they also
Yeah,
do not have a quarterback. And I do not want them drafting him and having to watch the Panthers play against him for 10, 15 years. That would make things so much worse.
So if you're on the quarterback fan page, what do you think Kenny Pickett would be a disappointment for you?
Kenny Pickett is who I think Matt Rule would draft, mainly because he is probably the closest to Mac Jones in terms of just being able to start right now. But I also don't think his ceiling is that high. There are also some ties. I think Rule recruited him when he was at Temple. Of course, he didn't end up playing for him. But if Rule is in like save his job mode, which I think he is, I was kind of hoping he'd be fired in the offseason or at least take another job. But he is. I am predicting he will not finish out the season, or he will not be the coach next year. I would not be shocked if he went with Kenny Pickett, but Pickett is not who I want.
Man, it really gets interesting with Carolina's pick for all of the reasons that you said. I actually think drafting Malik Willis is a great move for the Carolina Panthers this year, specifically because if they pass him, you got the Giants next, and then you got the Falcons, 2 teams that are their quarterback future is also a mystery. And if he plays very well, that would be a mark on Carolina, and I think many who agree that he is the best quarterback in this draft. So, and great pick, and he could be an awesome weapon to develop. He doesn't have to start right away. Let Darnold just begin the season again, continue to try to prove himself, and bring Willis in when he's ready. So, definitely, you have the right type of situation to bring a quarterback in. Excellent breakdown, Daniel.
Yeah, and one last thing is I wanted to point out. Who's got the most cap space in the NFL right now?
This is true. Yep.
So, we've been preaching on this show. You have, well, I guess not preaching, but it's been mentioned a few times. You have a rookie quarterback. If you end up drafting one, you can build around him. Mm-hmm. If you've got the cap space.
The Chiefs won their Super Bowl before they signed Mahomes to that massive deal. The Rams were competitive, when they had Goff on that rookie deal. You can spend a lot of money when you got a guy on a rookie deal.
Yep. It's a great foundation.
Damn, is Malik Willis about to be that next, that rookie deal QB getting a ring? Russell Wilson, right? Like that. It's been happening throughout the last decade. Is he the next? I don't know.
We'll find out.
I think he can be. We'll see. We'll see what the coaching does.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the pick is in from Daniel, representing the Carolina Panthers, quarterback from Liberty University, Malik Willis. Let's go. Great pick. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks.
Next up, representing A-Town, we got our boy A-Rod to break it down from Atlanta, talking about them dirty birds. A-Rod, you are officially on the clock with the 8th
All
pick.
right. What's up, everybody? How's it going? I just want to say hi. Obviously, got to say that first. All right. So, honestly, after the last offseason that we've been seeing, like starting all the way back to, Julio Jones and all that, after the Calvin Ridley debacle, we've got a lot of team needs. I mean, then we trade away Matt Ryan. I'm like, you got 2 years left. Let him play it out. But all right, maybe not. So, I mean, if you really want to think about it, you're looking at, all right, you got the QB spot we're definitely going to need, even though we picked up Mariota. I love Mariota. I will tell you that much.
It's my ooze.
You got a wide receiver core that's just depleted. There's what we got nobody left. Nobody. But, I mean, don't worry. We're going to get some people. I'm not afraid. I'm actually thinking we might make some choices soon. I mean, and then you got the edge rush and obviously safety that are kind of lacking a little bit. So, those are the spots that I'm really thinking that might be a little bit of needs that are going on right now. I mean, the entire offseason has definitely been a roller coaster. Serious roller coaster. So, I mean, with that being said, there's really not much more to say with that. You know what I mean? The 8th pick means more to us than you can imagine. All we got left is Kyle Pitts. So, I mean, that's really all I got at that point for that. But, I mean, in all honesty, if you really want to go to, like, some of the great pickups we've made, We did give Shawn Evans, the linebacker, so that was pretty good. Ferkser as a tight end, great backup to Pitts. I think he's already got a connection with Mariota, which is very big for me. And then one of our key pickups that I think was really good to move, because this was a position I was worried about, Casey Hayward coming in as cornerback. That was a big pickup. Very big move. I think that was probably one of my favorites, especially since that kind of helped out. We already got AJ Terrell. So, AJ Terrell right there, he did so good last year. So good. So, I mean, after that, then you really only got Lorenzo Carter that came in. That was really that big of a pickup. Obviously, we re-signed Cordell Patterson, which is a big move as well. But I think really not having Ryan and not having Julio, it's gonna be a weird full season. So, yeah, that's all I really got on that. So, I mean, all I really got left is the pick. And I already know I had my top 3 choices set to go, trying to fill out one of those slots. And I think in the biggest part of my heart, we're going to go with the Notre Dame safety, Hamilton. I think so.
Okay.
If he drops, that's it.
I like that pick, man.
Me too.
Hamilton to the Atlanta Falcons. You got the phenom tight end on the offensive side from last year, and now the phenom safety on the back end of the defense. I like that pick. It's definitely a need for the Atlanta Falcons. I think the safety position is extremely underrated. The teams that don't have safeties don't make an impact in the playoffs. This is a different league nowadays. So I like that pick a lot. That is a great pickup.
I definitely agree with Will's assertion that the safety position is actually disrespected by mainstream media. They say it's not a premium position. That's literally what they say. But it is a very valuable one, an underrated one. Okay, I know a thing or two about great talents, young talents at safety. Obviously, we didn't retain him, but Kyle Hamilton, that was actually somebody that I was looking at number 4 until all my fellow Jets fans yelled at me, cursed me out, egged my house. So now I got to think about somebody else. But that would be a great, if he falls to you at 8. I think that's a great move.
Us Cowboys fans, we're hoping that he doesn't make it to the Eagles, so we will celebrate if you take him. We don't want him falling to either one of those 2 picks. And we are glad that he ran a 4.5 40, because some people may let him slide, but I think he just had to fart or something, because that boy is not slow. He's got some speed. You can't go by the 40. And perfect fit in that defense for the Atlanta Falcons.
The Falcons, if I'm not mistaken, have 6 picks in the first 3 rounds. 2 in each round of the first 3, which, good Lord, they could. Talk about being able to rebuild on the fly. That's fantastic. Having that many picks in the first 3 rounds. And honestly, I'm surprised you didn't go in the offensive direction. In a lot of the mock draft that I was looking at, it was Garrett Wilson.
That was another one
going to the Falcons. So I didn't know if that was one that you'd considered.
Look, I was definitely about it. I saw Willis was in one mock draft from Liberty. He was another big one. One of the more surprising ones I saw in a mock draft was Drake London. Coming out of USC, I think. Yep. I was like, I do want a receiver, but I think we could let it slide on that one, because there are some other good receivers coming in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, maybe we play it out. Like, we did get some luck on some of those. So, but the only other one I saw in any mock draft was Thibodeau from Oregon. I was like, okay, that would be acceptable too. But if it were me, I'm going Hamilton all the way. As long as he slides down there, that 4.5 run, that definitely kind of might make him slip a little.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Great pick. I say solidify the defense. Offense, this is a deep wide receiver class. Get some speed. People that can run after the catch. It's not like Mariota is Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to be throwing 60-yard passes in the air downfield, but he can hit somebody very accurately on a 10-yard slant. And if that person has the moves to make a few people miss, it's going to be a great offense. So you could get a speedy receiver early 2nd round. I think you nailed it for A-Town. And that's a great pick.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, hey, you were on the clock. All right. The pick is in. All right. Kyle Hamilton. All right. A-Rod. Alex Rodriguez. Same name, but a completely different person than the person that you guys are probably thinking of.
We got the better A-Rod.
Forget Aaron Rodgers. Forget the baseball player. We got our boy A to the R to the O to the D representing them Dirty Birds. Thank you for your pick, buddy. Our girl Rachael to break it down from Seattle. Rachael, you are on the clock.
I just have to say, first things first, I am wounded in this offseason, okay? You're asking me how we've performed? Not good. What is Pete Carroll doing? We don't know. Schneider had one good draft class in 2012, and here we are. Trading away all of our picks to the Jets, which we just heard Matt rub it in my face, and we're going to hear it later from the Broncos. Rub it in my face. Whose face do I get to rub things into? Apparently nobody's. And Matt had the audacity to talk about DJ Reed. Sensitive. I'm sensitive over here in Seattle. I will say one good thing we did this offseason, at least we re-signed Quandre Diggs. We needed that. We've lost everybody. We've lost Russell. We've lost Wagner. I don't know what is going on in that front office. Clearly, there's some disconnect in the players. The fact that we've lost Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Russell, and Wagner, and they all have beef with the front office. Like, is that how we treat our players who put in that much for us? We have Earl Thomas flipping people off on the sidelines. Like, what is happening? Okay, I can't get too heated on here. We'll be here for like 10 hours. I'll try to reel it in. Okay. Off-season moves. Getting rid of Russell Wilson. I have thoughts. I was very upset. Then I talked myself into it. Then I'm upset. Then I've talked myself into it. We needed draft capital back. We got it. I have a lot of issues with the fact that we had to trade away our Super Bowl winning quarterback to get back draft capital for Jamal Adams. It's fine. We haven't extended Metcalf. So are we cleaning house? Are we bombing for next draft? Nobody knows what we're doing. Pete Carroll is the oldest coach. Is he going to rebuild us? Who knows? We have no idea, but I guess we're all just here to find out. Like I said, bad look for the organization with the confusion surrounding Russell and Wagner. And then it comes out with Bobby Wagner saying Russell was trying to recruit him to Denver. I'm like, oh boy, I think our organization's falling apart. But I won't catastrophize on here. There's hope. We have draft picks and we trust Pete Carroll with them, right? Right? Oh, okay. I will say what we can do, and I will comment on Matt's. I have seen rumors of us trading up for the Jets with number 4 and giving them Metcalf, and I and the rest of Seahawks and the 12s will lose our collective minds. We will. I don't know what will happen. It won't be good. I think our biggest holes on the roster outside of QB, which I'll get into later, O-line and corner, they have to be addressed. It is atrocious, and we just ignore it. How many years have we heard Russell complain about just getting hit? A lot of the sacks he created himself, but most of the time, bad O-line. I do not think we should draft a quarterback. If we are going to attempt to do something with Drew Lock, give him 1 year. People say he's great. He was in a bad system. Let's see what he can do. If we tank, better quarterbacks in the next draft. My personal thoughts. We have to get an O-line. We absolutely have to. If Pete Carroll is going to establish the run, which we all know he likes to, and we're re-signing running backs and we don't have an O-line for them to run behind, like, how is that going to work? That is Pete Carroll's issue all the time. We'll see. Quarterbacks, the other rumors. If we sign Baker Mayfield, I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring this up because I only have a few minutes here, but we re-signed Geno Smith. We have Drew Lock. We have Jacob Eason. No three of those people are very good, but we can see what we can do with them. I think we need to keep DK, keep him at all costs. We got rid of everybody else. We need a leader. Not everybody else. Tyler Lockett's sitting over there. I can I don't want any heat from him. Build around them. If it tanks, get a quarterback next year. Work with our draft picks we have. Build up the O-line. Build up on corners, which is weak. Wait for next year for a quarterback. I would like to think that we could get, if Evan Neal falls and we do not grab him at 9 and the Seahawks don't trade down, which we're notorious for doing, I don't know what's happening in that front office. And then to go into picks 40 and 41, I feel like we will trade. I feel like we will trade those picks, get more lower down, and see if Schneider and Carroll can figure something out, get another diamond in the rough like they hit gold in 2012. They have to fix the O-line in the corner position. We have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Ride it out. See what happens. I'm going to concede the rest of my time to arguing about the Broncos.
Excellent.
I have one last comment. One last comment.
Absolutely.
Do not pick Malik Willis at number 9.
Wow.
Don't. I can get roasted for this clip. That's fine. He's not ready. I'll explain it. He is not ready to play. It is a project. I'm not saying I don't think he's good, and I'm not saying I don't think he's worthy at number 9, but I don't think we need him. Why would we trade for Drew Lock? Why would we re-sign Geno Smith? Why is Jacob Eason in our quarterback room? If we're going to go in and pick Malik Willis, who's training him out of those 3? Who is he learning behind? There is no... Are we calling Geno Smith a veteran quarterback? I don't want him to come for me, but who's training him? It makes no sense. That's a waste of a number 9 pick. If somebody wants to trade up for that pick, if he falls and we slide down and then we can get a corner later, we can get an O-line later, fine. Malik Willis, it doesn't make sense for where the Seahawks are at going into this season at all. That's my thought.
Hey, I actually have to agree with you. If Malik Willis is there while the Seahawks are picking, our Carolina Panthers fan may prevent that from happening if the draft goes his way. But if Malik Willis is there, who's blocking for him? You have all these quarterbacks and nobody to block. So you nailed it, in my opinion. And by the way, when you mentioned picks 40 and 41, you have a strong feeling that they're going to trade down. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first on the Side to Side Sportscast. I believe that the Dallas Cowboys at the pick 56 are going to trade up with the Seahawks for one of those picks. We're going to see what happens, but I can see it happening. Those are 2 teams that they usually get deals done together, during the draft. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Damn.
Now
that's a second trade. That's a second trade of this draft special. Okay, all right. We had the Jags and the Lions before. Now we got the Seahawks and the Cowboys. I mean, I feel so, that almost literally felt like a eulogy, going through. So my heart is with
you in the 12s.
Yes, absolutely. All the loss. I am no stranger to loss, but you know what they say. One man's trash is another one's treasure.
Except for Drew Lock. Sorry.
Sorry. Best background to the draft so far, though. Best background to the draft.
Oh, that's a fact. Yeah. I would gladly trade backgrounds for sure.
Hey, you know what? I think this is probably the opportune time to have a fan from a sports nation that you probably may not feel too good about, even though they don't have a first-round pick. Let's hear about their offseason right now. And
let's go.
Let's go. Broncos Nation. Representing Broncos Nation.
Yeah.
So tell us, man, how you feel about your offseason?
Life is good. As a Denver Bronco fan, all I have is a message of hope and optimism because life is great. The Denver Broncos are a 3-time Super Bowl winning franchise that is going to excel in this next year. And so, yeah, from a draft perspective, we are not drafting in the first round. We've got a 64 pick coming from the Los Angeles Rams because we traded Von Miller early. And to be honest, I think that really highlights the expertise and specialties of our new general manager, George Patton, who is doing fantastic work at the back end and really just leading the team to success, making the steps that need to happen for victory to be achieved. And so at round 64, it's tough, right? Who's going to be the pick? It's not easy. It's reading tea leaves. It's hoping for the best. And if I was going to place a wager right now, it'd be Tyler Ferguson, the tight end from Wisconsin. I'm very hopeful there. But at the end of the day, I think here's where we're at. The Denver Broncos have fielded 11 different starting quarterbacks since 2016, since the great himself, Peyton Manning, the sheriff, once wore that outfit, number 118. And the Broncos conducted a blockbuster trade this offseason, and you probably all heard of it. It's Russell Wilson from the Seahawks. This is a huge pickup that is going to play dividends for years to come. And, of course, you think about the history, Russell Wilson and the Broncos. We think about that one Super Bowl when we were there, and unfortunately it was 48-3. It was not a good situation, but here's the best situation. He's on our team now, right? And he's been to the Super Bowl 2 times. And, of course, he'd be a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback had he not thrown that one terrible interception to Malcolm Jenkins with the New England Patriots, which has been very difficult. But we've done a lot of good things on the offseason. We're looking great within the draft. You know, of course, the toughest part of it is that we traded 2 first-rounders in 2022, this year and next year. 2 second-rounders in 2022 and 23, a 5th-round selection. We gave away Drew Lock, and to be honest, that was pretty much just like dumping out the trash. Like, good luck with him. Like, have a good time because he's absolutely trash. Like, I hope he works out for you, but you saw what he did. We all saw what he did. We saw what he's capable of. Absolutely nothing. Goodbye, Drew Lock. We gave up the big part of our team, though, the defense, Shelby Harris. And he is a rock star. That was a huge pickup by the Seahawks. Like, nothing but love on that front because the Seahawks did really great on that part. I think that really was the number one component of the trade. However, you think quarterback for quarterback, so that's why Drew Lock is in the news. But really, it was for Shelby Harris. We also gave away Noah Fant, and so that's pretty difficult as well to the Seahawks. But at the end of the day, here's who we got. We have a Super Bowl winning MVP. We have Russell Wilson at the helm throwing touchdowns to Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and the bunch. It's going to be nothing but success, and I'm super excited for the future because, you know, Wilson, he's 33, right? And the rumors that I've heard on Twitter, the internet, you know, Adam Schefter, you know, whoever you get it from, is that he wants to play until he's like doing Tom Brady numbers. He wants to be 42, 43, 44. And he spent the first 10 seasons with Seattle, and he earned 9 Pro Bowl selections. 9 Pro Bowl selections. That's insane. Like, how does Seattle get rid of this guy? Like, this is the best thing in the world. Back-to-back Super Bowl appearances in 2013 and 2014. And, I mean, of course, he hoisted up that Lombardi trophy, which is really cool to see. But he also has a winning head coach that's ready to join him. And so this is a new franchise with new vigor, new energy, and it's super exciting. Nathaniel Hackett, our new head coach, I mean, really, he is a rock star. And he is a player's coach where he's playing to the strengths and expertise of the people around him. I really think he's going to succeed. I mean, he served really well with the Buffalo Bills as an offensive coordinator. The Jacksonville Jaguars, he had that huge stint over there, which we're all pretty familiar with. And, of course, he was a quarterback coach and offensive coach to Aaron Rodgers with the Packers. And so he knows what it takes to be a high champion level caliber team. And we're going to be in a really good position ultimately. I think the Broncos really just needed a quarterback, and now we're here. And so, yes, the draft is important. We do have some great picks still, and it's going to be very difficult to read the tea leaves as to what exactly those draft picks are. But at the end of the day, we're in a good position. I think we need to pick up a couple more pieces, but Russell Wilson is going to have another second with the offensive line, at minimum with the Broncos. And I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I've heard Seattle fans say this: let Russ cook. Let Russ cook. And he's throwing touchdowns like crazy to DK Metcalf. Well, he has a star-studded wide receiver bench over here with the Denver Broncos, and he has an offensive line that's going to block for him. He's going to have an extra second. It's not going to be like crazy amount. I'm not going to say the Broncos have the best offensive line in the league, but he's going to have more time than he had in Seattle, which is notoriously the worst offensive line in the league. And so we're going to let Russ cook, and we're going to win a Super Bowl this year. Super excited to be on this show, and thank you for having me.
Wow. Well,
Absolutely.
we're
Can I? Can I say
sure.
something?
Go
Absolutely.
in. Jump right in.
It's all yours.
You guys, Russ already cooked. He lit your stadium on fire. So you guys don't even know what to do with Russ cooking in Denver. You don't know how to handle him. You don't know how to set a team up around him. And one other comment that is not super related to the draft. Why did he buy a house with 4 bedrooms and 12 bathrooms? Explain the ratio. Explain it.
Look, first and foremost, I'm going to answer that second part first and get back to the football thing second. I think we've all woken up in the morning and wanted to use a different bathroom. Like, that's a common occurrence, and you need to have a variety of options. Like, let's let this champion caliber man have a private poop in the morning. But
he has 4 kids.
Back to the football talk that we were discussing, which is, you're right. Russell Wilson beat the Denver Broncos really, really badly. And it was embarrassing. It was a sad day, probably the saddest day of my life. But here's where we are today. He's on our team, right? He's going to win for us, and we're going to be in a really good position. I think that's really exciting. And at the end of the day, I mean, the Broncos have more Super Bowl championships than the Seattle Seahawks do. So we certainly know what it takes to win, and we're going to get it done.
Hey,
If
listen,
we win one game with Drew Lock, you owe me 5 beers. It's just like, it has to happen.
You'll win one game, but it will be in spite of Drew Lock.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
Well,
Hey,
in the wise words of Rachael, she said, representing the 12s, all of her eggs are in a Geno Smith basket, and that literally is not okay.
Honestly, I like I mean, I'm going to break the fourth wall here because this is a great time in our little discussion here, right? Like, my favorite comment I've seen is on the tombstone on Rachel. You know, unfortunately, here lies Rachael, right? She died because she had to cheer for Geno Smith. I mean, honestly, cheering for Geno Smith in a Jets uniform, that took years off my life as well. Forget about smoking cigarettes. No, cheering for Geno Smith was the most detrimental thing, okay, that has ever happened to anybody in my family. So I hear you, Rachael. I do hear you.
Well, great perspective from Broncos Nation. Stephen, thank you for breaking it down. And representing the 12s, Rachael, representing the Hawks, thank you for breaking it down. Very interesting insight. What are the Seahawks going to do at their pick? Are they going to go with that offensive lineman? Can Evan Neal possibly fall to 9 to put a smile on your face? We don't want Malik Willis to put a frown on the face. Broncos Nation, you don't have a pick until 64, but you made money in the offseason. You got a Super Bowl winning quarterback, somebody who can actually get the ball to those weapons on the outside now. And my man, the running back from North Carolina running downhill this year, Big Boy Williams. It's another year. Is looking good for Broncos Nation. But I'll say don't sleep on Pete Carroll, who is a great developer of talent, and he's tested again. We're going to see what he can do. He is the oldest coach in the league. But both of you, thank you so much, and we're going to look forward to hearing more about you as the season continues.
Thank you for having me. And I will say one last thing, that no matter where we end up, I think the Seahawks and the Broncos will probably do a little bit better than the Jets. But love you lots.
Oh my God. Don't
it's one thing we agree on. One thing we agree on today.
Really? You think that the Seahawks are going to do better than the Jets? That's not – oh my God.
Let me have a little bit of hope, okay?
All right, we're gonna have to have another episode or something because we're out of time for this. But we're gonna need another episode because there's no way I'm about to have a heart attack trying to defend my Jets right now. So we're gonna cut this, but we're gonna let Matt back on because I know he is boiling.
Are you kidding me? Are you guys insane? Guess what?
We are set up very good. Give us another 15, 20 years, and you guys are all going down. You'll never hear nothing else besides the JETS, Jets.
There you go, man. From the 215, we got the legendary King Zadd representing those EAGLES Eagles, talking about the Eagles draft. What up, Zadd?
What's up? What up? What up? Hey, man, I like the way you did that, man. It seems natural to your soul, man.
Man, stop that, man. Stop that. You know, stop that. Stop that.
Add a little bit of yellow to that shirt, and we'll get the right color. Ain't that right?
Oh, man, you know how to mix colors. Okay.
Hey,
okay. All right. Well, look, man, my favorite letter in your team name is the L, and I hope y'all take a lot of them this year.
Hey, we already got 2 of them, so we.
Okay. So tell us, man. Tell us about your boys.
Man, I love draft, man, but I'm sick of us drafting nice guys who come from really nice parents and wholesome homes. That's all great for the locker room, man. But hopefully this year, man, we're looking to draft some monsters. So entering into this offseason, we had a ton of holes. You know, we were a very middling team, very kind of average. We kind of snuck into the playoffs. And I think we could do a whole lot better. So we started off, we had knees on the edge. You know, we're getting long in the tooth on a lot of places on the roster, right? Most of our best players are over the age of 30. And then when you're looking at the division we're in, we got a lot of really good young players on other teams. So we had issues on the edge. We have holes at wide receiver, holes at linebacker, holes at cornerback. Safety was an issue. We lost the safety this year. And then, of course, at guard, we tend to do really well because we have the best offensive line coach in the league. But shoring up the other side, the right side of the line at the guard position would be great as well. So we did as good as we could this year as far as being able to fill in a few of those holes. We were a bit cap strapped as a result of Carson Wentz's deal, as a result of Alshon Jeffrey's deal. And then we have a lot of players like where we kind of do this carousel thing. We're constantly restructuring. All it does is it kicks the can down the line, and so it bloats the contracts at the end. And eventually it catches up with you, right? So we had a lot of that. And so even though it looked like we had a lot of money to sign people, we really didn't. So after this year, we'll have a bit more flexibility going into next offseason. What we did do, we did sign Philly's own Hassan Reddick. We signed him away from the Carolina Panthers. That was a great pickup on the edge. Hassan came out of Temple University. He started with Arizona Cardinals. He was kind of miscast a bit, but he found his home at Carolina, you know, rushing hard off the edge. Next, we signed Zach Pascal from Indianapolis. Head coach Sirianni had some. He worked with him while he was there in Indy. And, I mean, he's another locker room pick. He fits the mold of a blocking kind of wide receiver. But, you know, as far as, like, being able to get in and out of his routes, Zach is really good in the red zone, more so than your 20 to 20. So we're still going to need to pick up a few guys, I think, in this draft. There, but we'll get to that. So the next signing we had Kaiser White, a young guy, ascending player out of San Diego. We re-signed Greg Ward. Greg has been kind of like our safety net, right? He's kind of like your boy. I hate to mention his name, man, but he was really good for you guys for a long time. Jason Witten, right? Jason wasn't getting you those 30-yard plays. You know, he wasn't knocking those out. But what he could do is run really good routes, and he can get you 2 to 5 yards like every time he caught the ball. So we get a little bit of that out of Greg Ward. We signed a guy, Andre Catre. He more of a depth kind of guy. We re-signed Anthony Harris, who didn't play the best for us last year, but hopefully we hope he has a little bit still left in the tank. Next, we re-signed Boston Scott, and we also re-signed Fletcher Cox to a 1-year, $14 million deal. So another locker room guy, big time leader. We needed that. And that leads us into the draft, right? That's what we're really here about. We got 4 days to go. So hopefully we have some players slip. So I'm thinking that the Eagles really need to address wide receiver, cornerback, or defensive end. The reason why I say defensive end, because even though we signed Hassan Reddick, we also have we have we have Brandon Graham, who's been great, but he's coming off an injury, right? And he's a bit older, never been much of a speed guy, so it's been more of a technique guy, and putting pressure. So we don't know what a guy his age is going to do, after an injury. So I do think that we need to pick up someone on the defensive end. So right now we're picking at 15 and 18. We already traded 2 of our picks to the New Orleans Saints. So I'm thinking that if Stingley slips, I think we should take a shot at Stingley. Chances are he's not going to be there. So I think the more realistic pick is probably Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson is going to end up the best wide receiver out of this group. A lot of people like Olave. Olave's smooth, but he's a bit on the slight side. We already have Devontae. Devontae's a dog, but he's already on the slight side. So I think that Garrett Wilson reminds me a ton of our guy up in San Diego making those catches. I'm not even going to mention his name because the rest of the world doesn't seem to appreciate this man and what he does, right? So, but I do really think that Garrett Wilson is going to end up being the best. And with our 18th pick, I think George Karlaftis is going to slip. My only worry about George is I think he's a great player, but he's probably more of a 3-4 defensive end. And Eagles have been traditionally a 4-3 team, but I think that with our current defensive coach, I think we're going to play a bit more 4-3 under. So we're going to kind of resemble more of those Ravens kind of setups where or the Steelers even. The Steelers kind of more traditional 4-3, but the Ravens ran a lot of 4-3 under. So it looks like they have 4 guys down on the line, but the actual end guy is really a linebacker. So I think that we'll get some of that. If all of those guys are gone, man, I say we take Andrew Booth from Clemson. Athletic, big corner, rough you up type. We got Slay to kind of stick with those faster guys for now, for as long as he's still big play Slay, And then I think in the later rounds we need to address. I think we should take another pick, a wide receiver, running back, and definitely need to key up on linebackers. I think that Christian Harris is very, very underrated. Most mocks have him coming in early to mid second round, but I think that he might end up being the best linebacker in his class as well.
Stingley and Slade, that's a lockdown. That, yeah, like I don't know. I feel like Stingley, because of his injury, has kind of been getting disrespected. Like I actually, wouldn't be surprised if he was there with that first one, the 15th pick. Like, I don't know. I think he actually still might be there. There's a lot of hype, on Sauce Gardner, right? There's a lot of, guys getting a lot of, attention. And Stingley, who's been kind of on the shelf, like he might, and if he is there, it's locked down.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take that chance, right? The thing is, like, to be honest, is who is the Jets going to leave for everybody else, right? Because I think the Jets and the Giants control this draft, depending on what they do. I can't say that the Giants are going to do the right thing at where they are. I think they're happy with where they are at quarterback right now. So I think that if I were their GM, I'd go, I'd pick one of the linemen up. They need linemen. They haven't drafted linemen well in years. But the Jets, with my guy at head coach, man, I like him a lot. I like his attitude. So hopefully you guys leave Stingley for us, man, and you guys like take a flyer on Hamilton or one of those guys. I think you guys are going to take Thibodeau off the map, but I'm hoping that you guys leave some folks for us, man.
Well, I will tell you one thing. Ave would be the worst nightmare for you. He'd be the third mirror image of, like you said, the slight receiver who's just barely touching 6 feet, who's fast. But, you can only have so many of those guys. You can only stuff so many slot receivers on one team, right?
Exactly.
Hey, there's nothing that I would like to see happen more than for Derek Stingley Jr. to go pick 14 to the Baltimore Ravens, just because they always take corners. But hey, it is looking like that could be a possibility. He was injured last year. His stock was falling. In his pro day, he ran a 4.37, so now his stock is rising. We don't know what's going to happen, but that would be an excellent pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then at that pick 18, you add to your receiving core to help out the young Jalen Hurts? Are we going to get a possession receiver at that pick or another slight receiver? This is definitely the year of the itty bitty mini receivers. There's a lot of them out there who are running blazing speed. But just like you said, can the Eagles afford to bring in another one of those guys? Would it make sense? So very interesting to see what the Eagles are going to do. But I want to ask both of you gentlemen, Kelly Green or Gang Green?
I mean, why would we say anything besides like the one that applies to us? Like that.
I'm just saying, historically, what color? Like, why?
I mean,
why does it matter more?
Gang Green from us, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, what is
our
this?
green looks better anyway. You see this?
Oh my God! I mean, what are you talking about? Like, do you see the Gotham green? Like, this is literally the style. Look at. I mean, what are you talking about?
All me and CJ see is Dookie Green, but it's all good, man. Two different shades of boo green. But hey, King Zadd.
More playoff wins in the last 25 years than
all right.
Every one of us are in that boat. So
all right.
Congratulations.
All right.
He got it.
We're gonna have to talk about that on another show. But hey, King Zadd, definitely thank you for representing your Philadelphia Eagles in the draft pick.
Well, up next, okay, we got I think this might actually be the last team that we got that has 2 picks in the first round. Okay, we talking about those cheeseheads. Okay, so we have a resident cheesehead. Okay, in the one, the only, Brian Diebold. How's it going, Brian?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. You nailed the intro, by the way.
Thank you. I was trying. As you know, these people don't know, but as you know, I was practicing before we even started this whole thing, right? So I'm glad I got it. And let me ask you, or let me tell you, Brian Diebold, Green Bay Packers, you are on the clock.
Well, glad to be here. Thanks for putting me on the clock. Going into the offseason, if I had to define the Packers offseason with one word, it would be decisive. I think their first goal was to go out and make a decision with Aaron Rodgers. They weren't going to go through another offseason like they did 2 years ago with basically the media just taking everything and running with it. So, they extended Aaron, and then it got quiet for a while. Well, then all of a sudden the Davante Adams news hit. And I think, honestly, I was surprised like many, but once more information started coming out, I realized we couldn't pay 2 guys on the offense $30 million a year. And if I could only pick Aaron Rodgers or Davante Adams, I got to take Aaron Rodgers. So as tough as it was to see him go, I'm happy to see him go to a team that he wants to play for, his former college quarterback. And I hope he does well. And I think the Raiders are going to be tough. But I think the Packers needed to make that move. They offered him a fair contract, and he simply just didn't want to play in Green Bay. I can live with that. I'm thankful for the time we had with him. So, obviously, when you have a player of his caliber leave, that opens some pretty glaring holes. And even with him, I think a lot of people around the league thought our receiving core was a little much to be desired, we'll say. And I can't disagree, because they didn't exactly have household names. So obviously wide receiver 1 is their number 1 position going into the draft. And, this is a year where they have, I think, 10 picks, 2 in the first round. So, history, if it repeats itself, it looks like we might trade up. I know that's something that, our current GM and our previous GM were accustomed to, is packaging and moving up to get their guys. So, you think at the end of the day they're gonna make value picks with their board, but that doesn't mean I don't have a couple of guys I'd like to see them draft. And I think if you watch college football at all, this first name you've definitely heard of, and so jumping ahead a little bit, I would say with the Packers' first pick, 22nd overall in the first round, I really would like to see them take Chris Olave, the wide receiver out of Ohio State.
That's a pick. I completely agree. I mean, you lost Davante Adams. You lost Valdez-Scantling, who is not Devontae Adams, but he is a speedy guy. I mean, right now, I said not too long ago, Lazard was your wide receiver one to get speed like that on the outside. Olave.
I think that really, like you said, it's obviously a need. But I think, with MBS leaving, and I think he'll do well in Kansas City, his thing has always been, can he stay on the field? And if he can stay on the field, he's really shown he started to become more reliable for Aaron. And I think skill sets like his, I don't want to say they're a dime a dozen because, not everybody's that fast, no matter you play the position or not. But I think you can find guys, I wanted him back, not at $11 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
That is an incredible pick. If there's one of the more obvious picks in this draft, I think Green Bay going with the best wide receiver available is it. Because last time they were supposed to do that and they took Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers had a hissy fit for a couple years. And now he strong-armed them into a huge contract. And they're loyal to their guy, but there is absolutely no way they're going to not get him some help in the first round of this draft. So I actually
think they're going to double down. They have 2 picks in the first round.
Yep.
If they trade up, I wouldn't be entirely surprised. But again, they're going to go value. So there's a few picks they could make here that wouldn't surprise me. But I think they're going to make a splash and go. God, I should probably know this, but they haven't drafted. I want to say they haven't drafted a receiver in the first round since Shawn Walker in 2004.
Yep, it's been over 2 decades almost.
It's been a while. So I think what they're going to end up doing is I think they're going to double down and if what people are saying about this kid out of North Dakota State is true, if he is the next Deebo Samuel, I see Matt LaFleur falling in love with him, and that's Christian Watkins. If I have that right. Watson, excuse me. Christian Watson, excuse me, wide receiver out of North Dakota State. So
I didn't know if there was
his body type is definitely built for the NFL. So I would love to see him in the green and gold.
Yeah. I mean, there's every single mock draft has them drafting a receiver at least in one of those 2 positions. And it makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, you lose Devontae, you got to replace him with somebody. Why not be a first-round talent? Just whoever the Patriots are picking, make sure you don't pick that guy.
Right. well, CJ, you're right, though. And I think because the Packers have 10 picks, they can use the rest of those picks to package to move up, to build depth. I mean, every team in the NFL, I don't care if you just won the Super Bowl or not, you need depth at your interior offense and defensive line. You just do. Definitely. So you really can't go wrong there. I would say that's probably the Packers' second biggest hole is offensive line depth, just with 2 all-pro players coming back from essentially, knee injuries. You'd like to assume they're going to be out there and be healthy, but you just never know, especially at that position.
And this definitely is a deep class for offensive line help for sure. So you'll definitely have options there. I'm trying to get my words back. 2 receivers in the first round. That would be something. For sure, but that is a great way, to show Aaron, hey, we mean business. We just gave you all this money, and now we're gonna give you the help that you've needed, that we've been neglecting. It's like when you forget to pick. This happened to me all the time. My mom forgets to pick me up from school or something. I'm left at school, and now the next day I'm going to Disneyland. So Aaron, you're going to Disneyland. 2 wide receivers, courtesy of Brian Diebold.
Yeah,
that's pretty solid.
Hey, you can put the stamp of approval on that. If they do go ahead with those picks, there'll be several cheeseheads very happy.
Hey, Christian Watkins, 6'4", 211, North Dakota State. Definitely a speedy guy and a big target for Aaron Rodgers to go alongside with Chris Olave. You put that youth out there with him. I think those are 2 great weapons to please your guy in Green Bay. So great picks.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you. Thank you for representing Pack Nation.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast. I appreciate it, guys.
And next up, with the 24th pick of the Side to Side Draft Special, we got your guy Knicks ready to break it down for them boys. What up, BJ?
Yeah, man. Thank y'all for having me. Pretty excited to break down this pick with you guys. Been watching y'all here for a little bit now since I've been kicking it. I like what you're doing. I mean, I don't know. You telling me, man, that we're going to ship it over here to the producer, the editor. I'm like, man, I need one of those. I'm like, I need an editor. I don't get one of them.
Hey, awesome, man. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not following your guy Knicks and you're a Cowboys fan, you're missing out. His name, his Twitter handle, check out your guy Knicks, and also tune in to the StarGang livecast. Did I plug that right?
Yeah, that's it.
StarGang livecast
on YouTube. Absolutely.
Keep in touch with your Cowboys information, because this my man right here, I'm always breaking it down with him to keep a loop of what's going on. But right now, let's talk about this draft. You are officially on the clock.
Man, to start off the top, though, what a tumultuous offseason this has been for the Cowboys. The front office has been more Kardashian than on football. There's been babies come up and sisters that we didn't know about. The head of PR had to get exiled out of here. Jerry had a little health scare even. I mean, there's been all these things happening, and as those things were happening, not much was happening on adding to this team, more or less tearing this team down a little bit, right? Because you moved on from a wide receiver in Amari Cooper for a bag of Skittles and 2 beans. I don't know. Fifth, and you flip 6th. So, I don't think you should have got a first-round pick, but you can't tell me you should have got at least a 3rd-round pick for him, as we've seen some of these other moves happen afterwards. But then you did re-sign Michael Gallup, so you kind of helped yourself some there. But, of course, he's going to be injured, probably not going to play it the first month. You went and added to James Washington. You do have a Simi Fioco in the back end that you drafted in the 5th round last year. You franchise tagged tight end and Dalton Schultz and paying him $10 million. You had Randy Gregory signed, and then at the very tail end, you tried to do some shady, put something in, I don't know, and off to Denver he went. So you brought back Dorrance Armstrong, and what else you had at the end? Dante Fowler Jr. I mean, he's had one good year. We know, obviously, top 5 pick, the whole 9. He's had moments and flashes, but never really put it all together. So they covered their quote-unquote bases. You lost 2 starters on the offensive lineman. You couldn't get nothing. Again, front office ineptitude in this year. I'm sorry it's going to be downer time with me, guys. I'm not happy with the things that are happening, okay? So you couldn't trade La'el Collins, even though in a very starved offensive line needy league, I should say. So you had to cut him. Couldn't even get the Skittles and the 2 beans as you got for Amari. And then, of course, Connor Williams, a lot of people indifferent on him. We're glad to see him walk out the door. You have Steele, who's coming in as an undrafted guy, going into year 3 to be your starter. And then Connor McGovern had mixed results last year. I'm not going to touch the cornerback situation. There's just too much gray area there with Kelvin Joseph, so I don't want to really get into that. Your top 3 cornerbacks are still there. The biggest thing they did was they got Kirsten Hooker back at the safety position. You feel pretty good about the back end there with those guys coming back. So what do you do now? One thing the Cowboys typically do, cover their bases pretty well overall, and then they can kind of go that BPA. That's how you end up with the CeeDee Lambs of the world. And boy, they just haven't done enough this year in a lot of different positions when you lose so many starters so far in free agency to really cover those weights. Go kind of like last year in a way they painted themselves as we thought being a cornerback at 10 no matter what, but the board dried up. It almost seems like they're painting themselves into a corner where you have to take either a wide receiver or an offensive lineman. But I just wonder about the tight end position. Just a smidge. When you think about Kellen Moore and his play calling and everything that was really good whenever they were at the height of what they were doing, 12 personnel with Jarwin, 2 tight end sets, right? And then once the 12 personnel wasn't there, kind of got lost along the ways a little bit. Okay. Well, maybe Dak, and what we don't talk about enough is maybe Dak is more comfortable in the 12 personnel range. Now, not that you can't get a tight end later, but when you start talking about these wide receivers, interior offensive linemen, maybe you can get those a little bit later because they're so deep. Although the new PFF mock draft, you're starting to see some things shake up with the wide receivers. But I'm starting to scratch my head. They want Kellen Moore to succeed, Dak to succeed. Boy, is Trey McBride going to slide into 24? Are the Cowboys maybe going to trade back from 24 to say 29 with Kansas City with 2 first-round picks and take Trey McBride just because Dak gives them the 12 personnel? And also, You can let Schultz play on the 1-year tag, let him walk, and you ain't got to pay him. And guess what? Stephen Jones saves more money. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying don't be surprised. But for my money, with the number 24 overall pick, I think the pick is going to be Zion Johnson. Is who I think is going to be. Would not be personally my pick, but I think that's who they're going to pick.
Zion. I can absolutely see that being something. You know, that pick absolutely blew Woody out of the room.
I was gone.
Blew Woody out of the room.
Now, my pick would be Nakobe Dean. Honestly,
Okay.
if he's on the board, if he's on the board, you add him. That allows you to still flex and do the things that you want to do with Micah Parsons, and gives you another coverage linebacker. You got LVE for 1 year. You're not sure Cook's coming back off the injury, so it is a need there. But of course, the golden goose is Jordan Davis. I mean, look, I'm going streaking, ladies and gentlemen. The way I was excited about CeeDee Lamb getting here to the Cowboys, if Jordan Davis is there at 24 and that's the card we turn in, I'm going out the door. I'm streaking down the road. My neighbors didn't like it the first time. I said, hey, it's just during the draft. You might have to deal with it. But those are some of the ideas that I think about. But I do think Zion Johnson, I think with the Cowboys, another key, though, about the tight end situation that sticks to me, in their top 30 official visits, how many were tight ends? Look it up. Most out of any position. 4.
Yeah, no, this is a underrated tight end draft. Actually, there may not be the Kyle Pitt athletes out there, but these guys can actually play the position.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't be a bad pick on the back end of the first round. I just want to talk about Jordan Davis because obviously I go streaking with you, bro.
Yeah, let's go.
Come to Austin and
Me
we
and
out,
Watch.
man, flapping and everything. My bad. Pause. But anyway, if we got Jordan Davis, it's just the Pittsburgh Steelers scare me. That's like a Pittsburgh Steelers type of pick right there. To have him fall to Zion, you can plug him in at left guard, and I think we start cooking again. Offensive line starts moving again. We really need that. So that if they picked him, I wouldn't be mad. But my favorite pick, because I don't think Jordan Davis is happening, but Nakobe Dean is actually my number 2. I'm with you on that. Let's get these athletic linebackers. We just seen how the Tampa Bay Bucks held it down with their linebackers. So that would be a great pick.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's again, sometimes you got to look at which side of the ball is closer to being more dominant. And it feels like this defense is like maybe another player away, maybe 2, and being really dominant. I know it's crazy to say because the Cowboys, number 1 in points last year, number 1 in yards last year, right? But you never really felt like that offense was ready to explode on you anytime like the Kansas City Chiefs or other teams or the Rams. The thing for us was if we rolled early, you're in trouble. If we stumbled early, it's going to be a long day at the office, boss. But again, I think the Cowboys are going to lean towards that Zion Johnson, maybe the right wide receiver. But Zion Johnson, I think, is going to be the pick for them. Hopefully in a trade down scenario, and you get a little extra on the back end. Also, tight end Jelani Woods, 3rd round. That's my guy for tight end.
Go. Woody, CJ.
I was just he took everything I was going to say because Zion's probably the pick that I see them going with. They're known for the offensive line. They need to rebuild that offensive line. They need to make Ezekiel Elliott again. So
make Zeke great again.
I mean, you need to start that hat, right? And he's a great stepping stone to do that.
Yeah, I mean, them boys, what they've been known for is that line. So reshuffling. I'm still trying to put my brain back together about the Trey McBride possibility because that would be crazy.
I'm just saying again. What I do is at best, some I do here and there, but I just kind of look and start reading some tea leaves, man. And again, when you look at the top 30 visits, you start thinking about how the Cowboys work. And remember, hey, tight end is extension of your offensive line as well. And they can paint that picture that way. And you think about Steven and wanting Kellen Moore to be good, and we think about how he was good and what he did. and look on this roster outside of Schultz. I mean, Jeremy Sprinkle, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, there's not much behind Schultz who's on the tag that you still got to work that on the back end. So again, I don't think they'll do it in the first round, but it wouldn't shock me if they went tight in the first round because it checks a lot of the boxes for what they want to do offensively.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here from your guy, Knicks. Cowboys Nation, stand up. Zion looking like the pick to plug into that left guard. But if Knicks had it his way, we might be going with Jordan Davis streaking, Kobe Dean, or Trey McBride. Listen,
I ain't say no Trey McBride. I'm
okay. Yeah, correction. He did not say Trey McBride. He said, "Don't be surprised." Yeah. Don't be surprised, right? Don't be surprised.
He's trying to get me cooked on Twitter. That's what we'll get. He's trying to get me cooked on Twitter. I know what's happening here. Hey, appreciate you fellas for having me on, man.
Hey, man, we appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that about does it for the side-to-side draft special. What amazing input we had from our fans from the top of the list, from the Jaguars, the Lions, all the way down to the Dallas Cowboys. We had a great first round. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you think about this draft. What do you think about the fans' picks in comparison to what really shook out in the draft? So we want you to call it how you see it. Call it how you saw it. Call out those who didn't see it how you saw it, even if it's us. Come on the Side-to-Side Sportscast and let's react to the NFL draft. Until then, it's your boys, Will, Woody, and you already know, we out.